Hello, my name is Allison Corman, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is Can We Change Our Thoughts Before We Feel Unhappy? And the reason why this is so important is because when we could shift our thoughts to a more positive, higher place, then our feelings are going to be more positive, and then we're more likely to take inspired action. We're more likely to pursue our goals. And that opens your mind and allows you to attract more in the world. So how can we do this? How can we immediately recognize if a thought is negative? That's going to create negative feelings and stop us from moving forward. And the two things that really need to happen quite quickly is we need to accept the situation that we're in. And we need to be able to find a sense of resilience in our core that could help us push away a negative thought, a doom thought, and welcome something else in. For instance, I am trying to sell a book that I wrote a few years ago. And recently, my agent sent me a letter from a publisher that rejected my book. And as I read the rejection, I watched my thoughts. And I had this thought, what publisher is ever gonna buy my book? This is my 5th rejection. And it was a bit of a negative thought. It was not a maybe thought. But before I had a feeling about it, I saw the thought. I caught the thought. And for me, what I do when I catch a thought, I go right to maybe before I let that thought become a feeling. Before I let that feeling dictate an action. And for me, when I caught myself, I immediately said, maybe that thought is not true. And for me, the minute I start thinking about maybe, I realize other things are possible. I move away from that thought. I move away from letting negative feelings come in. And all of a sudden, I feel hope. So for me, when I use maybe, not only do I move away from the negative thought, I actually generate a feeling of hope. And for me, that's hope that I'm not doomed, hope that something different could happen, hope that my dreams are still alive. It actually elevates me. And when I feel elevated, that's when things start to shift and I start to manifest. Because I'm sitting in that open space called maybe. And I realize that uncertainty is my best friend, because if I want something to happen, it has to happen in the unknown. Because in the unknown, there's a potential publisher that will pick up my book. In the unknown, if no one picks up my book, there are other ways to get it published. There are audiobooks. In the unknown, there are infinite possibilities. So how can we do this? We have to stay aware of our thoughts. We have to stay aware of what we're looking to do in our lives. We have to stay aware of what moves us forward and what aligns with us and what doesn't. And the first thing you could do is ask yourself, am I absolutely certain what this thought means for the future? And we could never know what the future will bring. So then we bring in the maybe. For me, again, I use the statement, maybe my thought's not true. You could use the statement, maybe everything's okay. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe there's another way. Whatever statement lessens the load, opens you up, and moves you away from feeling doom, moves you away from generating those negative feelings, which will make it more challenging to take an inspired action. But if you stay in that maybe place and you stay open, your feeling is going to be hope. Your feeling is going to stay positive. Your feeling is going to bring you to the place where things are still possible. And then you're more likely to take inspired action, which will help you manifest, which will help you create the life that you're looking for. And again, sometimes we're not going to be able to catch the thought. And sometimes it's going to turn into a feeling. And there's no reason to worry or to feel scared that that feeling got into your body. Perhaps it's something you really needed to process. Maybe you just weren't aware of your thoughts. But either way, we are able to process our feelings. And sometimes that is on the path to manifesting. So it happens to me if a thought comes in and it creates a feeling and I feel sad or I feel worried or I feel afraid. The first thing I do is I relax my body. I don't resist it, because if I resist it, I'm going against where I am in the moment. And sometimes if I relax my body, I let that feeling pass through, I become very aware that it's based on a fear of the future. And if that's the case and I'm relaxing and it passes through, very soon after I'll be able to go back to maybe statements and redirect my thoughts. And there are times where that sadness is deeper and it's bigger. And maybe this is not a time to be thinking about an inspired action. It could be a time for you to sit and understand the experience you just went through, understand your feelings. Do not put pressure on yourself, because that's what people do. We always feel we're supposed to be taking actions to move forward. But sometimes the greatest action is to be still and to process what you're feeling. And I promise you, over time, as you understand what happened, over time, as you're able to process sadness, process trauma, process things that happened to you, you will be able to let the light of maybe back in. And sometimes even when we're feeling pain, the light comes through because we realize that there are other things that could still happen in life and we're able to move forward while we're processing our pain. And maybe it's a beautiful place for that. Maybe I could take a step forward. Maybe even though I feel sad, there's something more out there for me. Maybe this will pass. But just be kind and gentle to yourself. Life is always moving even when we feel we're standing still. And we have to process our pain and the things that happen in our lives to be grounded, to be strong, to be resilient, to learn our lessons in order to manifest the things that we want in our lives. So often we're exactly where we need to be. So sometimes we're going to have to process our feelings, but other times we can move our thoughts in another direction before it does generate negative feelings. And as you work on this, you will know the difference. You will see when you're just having a fearful thought. You'll see when you're just afraid of uncertainty, and you'll jump right into those maybe statements. And other times you'll feel something that's so deep that you know that you're in this place where you'll have to find a way through, where you're going to have to feel what you're feeling. But if it's a moment where you could redirect your thoughts, sometimes you don't even need maybe. I've seen people who are just so headstrong. They are so clear on what they want in their life. They refuse to let that negative thought in. They look at their goals every day and they say, this does not align with my goals. Feeling bad about myself, feeling negative about myself. I refuse to accept this. I am seeing it differently in this moment. I am worthy. I am valuable. I live in the field of infinite possibilities. I've seen other people go towards gratitude and blessings, and they use that as a platform to generate more positive thoughts, to block out the negative thoughts. There are so many ways to redirect your thoughts. And again, for me, I like the maybe practice because it brings back hope. And I like the fact that I automatically have a thought that generates a feeling of hope, and hope for me always brings me towards inspired action. But you will figure it out. You will figure out how to redirect your thoughts. And as you redirect them, your feelings will be elevated. And as your feelings are elevated, just like me, you will take inspired actions. And you will stay on your path, and you will build a muscle towards resilience. And you will start manifesting. You will manifest because you believe all that is possible. And it's a beautiful way to live because you live with hope in your heart. Your dreams stay alive, your emotions stay positive, your energy is elevated, and you attract more in your life because we attract who we are. And when we're in that open space, we allow things to come to us. And when we're in that open space, we believe that the future is our ally. And we believe uncertainty is a place where all things we dream of exist. And you got this. The more space you have, the more chance you have to stay on the playing field and never give up. Because the truth is that we could be free of what happens in the outside world. And we can get up every day and try again and believe in our dreams and believe in love and believe in everything we've always wanted to happen in our lives. Because the truth is, maybe everything is okay. And maybe everything's the way it's supposed to be. And maybe things are working in our favor. And maybe our dreams are going to happen tomorrow or the next day or the next week. Or maybe there's another dream that's going to happen that we like even better. And maybe love is around the corner, and maybe the rejection is just a redirection. And most of all, maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or A Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you could subscribe and leave a comment.